Good morning, Lee Henson here from AgileDad. Welcome to today's edition of Daily Stand-Up. Without any further ado, let's get started. Today I wanted to speak to you about the importance of keeping teams consistent. It seems like one of the things that we've seen here recently is a push to try to find the most qualified individual to take on specific stories or specific tasks or specific work items. And what we're seeing is concerning. It's reflecting that teams are starting to disassemble themselves frequently in order to pass along a certain individual on a team to tackle a single concept. And this is happening more and more frequently as work becomes more complex. So it begs the question, what techniques, well, first of all, why is it important to keep teams consistent? And then what techniques can we use to help maintain that consistency? So obviously the value in keeping teams consistent is that they learn how to work better with each other and they learn how to work better with the organization. They have discovery where they figure out, conceptually, how much work can we get done? What can we tackle? What can we address? How can we press forward? And they get an idea of how to become predictable and how to, work with those individuals, who to pair with when they need to, and who to go to for peer review, and how to really accelerate the work that they're trying to do, all in an environment that's conducive to them. One of the big wins for keeping teams consistent is that it provides leadership predictability as well. As it gives the product owner an opportunity to better understand how the backlog should be best consumed, and it gives leadership the opportunity to really have that predictability that they're seeking, where they know with assurance, with confidence, that the team that they're engaging with is going to have the capability to not only do the work, but to do the work well and to get it delivered in a timely manner. So this begs the question, what techniques can we use to keep teams consistent if the work is ever increasingly getting harder, and what symptoms do we see in order to help prevent this from happening in the future? I think the telltale symptom, to be honest, is that you start seeing that people are not honoring work in progress limits. So the first symptom you'll see is that the workload, the number of projects in flight, the number of products being worked on, the sheer number of backlog items that are trying to be pushed down the pipe, you'll start to see that people tend to draw focus or lean in to accelerating quantity output instead of focusing on outcome. And as a natural result, by driving the focus to output and by driving people to focus on number of items completed and number of widgets completed and getting all things done in a timely manner, it forces us to evaluate individuals, I shouldn't call them responsibilities, but individual skill sets over the skill of a team. And instead of creating cross-functional swaths of a backlog, because we have so much work in place, it makes it near impossible to be able to do that. So we lean on individuals' talents and pull from a working group together the people needed in order to deliver a specific portion of a product or service. And what winds up happening second is you wind up with a backlog that I call the mishmash, or the jumble backlog, where you may have one individual who's working on a specific work item for product A. Then someone else on a team at the same time is working on something specific for product C, and someone else for product G. And what winds up happening is this creates chaos, because here's the third symptom. The daily stand-up will become useless. The teams won't care what each other's working on, because what Tom's working on isn't relevant to Stephanie, and what Stephanie's working on isn't relevant to Mike. It just turns into a mess where O'Neill and Pretam and everyone else just doesn't matter what anyone else is working on, because it doesn't directly impact them. So the team becomes jaded and starts seeing less value in the daily stand-up. The fourth symptom, once they start seeing less value in a daily stand-up, is that the team will begin to feel like meetings themselves are pointless and that they're spending too much time. The sprint planning meeting loses value. The retrospectives don't give them any focus because it makes it impossible for them to work together. So what does this do? This promotes that having them individually work on things is working. That pulling them apart and having them do the silo creation of topics makes sense, because from a leadership perspective, if they can't work together, well, let them work apart. And this does not, it almost reverses the Tupman model. It takes teams strictly out of performing. The highest any team would ever receive is norming, but in most cases it keeps teams in that storming phase, and not in a good way. It keeps them there because there's no way they can understand each other or get their head around the work or see what's going on. So obviously the best way to reverse the trend or to get things going in the opposite direction is to go all the way to step number 1 that I said and fix that. So step number 1 was we have too much in flight, too much work happening at the same time, too many products spinning up, too many different initiatives that teams are being asked to stretch across. You know, I've seen this so many times where I walk into organizations and they pick their key performer and they say, okay, Terrence, you're going to be working 48% on this project for this next sprint. You're going to work 48% on this project, 27% on this project, 36% on this project, 84% on this project, and 17% on this project. Because someone in their infinite wisdom added that together, and with their college degree decided that that equaled 100% of his time. When in actuality, we all know that's way more than 100%, and there's no way that individual or any other individual should ever be expected to perform that way. So we end up, stripping that individual of their ability to work with the team and forcing them to work on, multiple different things, and there's no way they can consume it all. And then other team members try to pick up the slack, and, I think you see what's happening here. This becomes problematic very, very quick. So I think the key is, if you reduce the amount of work in progress, keep team size consistent, keep the teams themselves consistent, and stop swapping people everywhere, reduce the diversity of the number of different projects at any single given time that this person will work on, thereby allowing them to complete what they're working on, but still be able to swarm and get those things done quickly so that they can keep moving on to new and fresh topics. I think that's the key. And then once you do that, you'll be able to allow teams to work together to swarm to get the limited work in progress complete, and thereby you'll be able to keep your teams consistent. So there you have it. The key is going all the way back to the beginning. If we address any one of those subsequent symptoms, it doesn't necessarily address the main problem. The main problem being that too much work is in flight. If we can get that piece together, then it'll create an environment where we'll have better team working morale. You'll see better team work-life balance, work-home balance, and you'll see this this environment created where people are encouraged to do all they can to assist each other, because what they're working on is relevant to each other because they're swarming to similar products, and the meetings will become more effective, people will be happier, and everyone will just follow suit. And this is how we get that environment where people love to work. This is how you create an environment of psychological safety, an environment where people love to come to work each day. Well, I hope that information was useful to you, and I hope that you can find ways to keep your teams consistent. We'd love to hear your feedback on this or any other of our podcasts, and we're also looking for additional topics. So we have that. We put that out there before. We're going to put it out again. We love to hear what topics you'd love to hear about so that we can make sure they're covered on this podcast as well. As always, we invite you to visit AgileDad.com, where you can learn more about this topic and many others. And as always, we encourage you to stay healthy, stay well, stay agile, my friends. And until next time, do take care.